Good evening. Gordon Causey coming back. I did a live stream earlier this evening, and now I'm doing another one. And I guess would call this a reaction video. I'm reacting to Canada having defeated the United States in the final of what I believe was called the Four Nations Cup. Instead of an all-star game, they had a little mini tournament involving Canada, the US, Finland, and Sweden. Each country uh, had NHL players and representing those four countries. And the two countries that met in the final were the Canadian team and the American team. And as I understand it, I got to check. I have to preface this. I'm not the world's biggest hockey fan, far from it, but I never talk about sports on my channel. And for a long time, I've been, I'll say, a sports enthusiast, a watcher of hockey, basketball, baseball, even football. Uh, and so I'm not out of my depth entirely when it comes to discussing sports. But I think it was Connor McDavid who scored in overtime. Yeah, Connor McDavid. I just had to double check that. Scored the overtime winner. I did not watch the game. Sit down. This is my dog. My dog shows up at the start of every video because she has trained me to give her one of these whenever I start a video. So shake, lay down, speak, speak. Come on, give me a good one. That's better. A little better. And there you go. Normally, I talk about news and current events, politics, my Christian faith. But tonight, put out a short video. Depends if I get any interaction, if people jump on and start commenting. But Canada won a hockey game. Congratulations, Canada. Congratulations to the United States. Getting to the final, Canada, the US, Finland, and Sweden are hockey powerhouses. They're not the only ones, though. I'm curious as to why the Russians didn't have a team. Alexander Ovechkin, Evgeny Malkinin. You've got a lot of very talented Russian players in the NHL. But for whatever reason, they didn't have a team. Is this about politics or is it about sports? To my mind, the two should be divorced from one another. But unfortunately, in today's hyper politicized world, everything is political, even a game of hockey. And speaking to that, the woman who sang the Canadian national anthem altered the lyrics. Uh, and the Canadian national anthem goes something like this: "Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love." And it's supposed to say, "Now in all of us command." But the singer of the Canadian national anthem, rather than singing "in all of us command," she sang "that only we command," or something like that. Obviously, a political statement in reference to Donald Trump's musings about wanting Canada to become the 51st state. But this was not a political event, this was a sporting event. I am very dismayed to have seen Canadian fans booing the US national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, at a game in Ottawa, and likely dismayed when Americans responded in kind in Nashville, Tennessee, and started to boo the Canadian national anthem. It was a hockey game, and man, oh man. Now, I should state up front, I'm approaching this from the perspective of I am a Canadian, born in Port Colborne, Ontario, little town in and around what's called Welland. That's the county, Welland County, Ontario. It's close to Niagara Falls. However, at the age of, in and around 6 months of age, my family, we relocated to the United States, to New York City specifically, Staten Island to be even more specific. And then from there, later we lived in New Jersey. I actually started playing hockey in New Jersey in a place called Westwood, New Jersey. It was called the Passack Valley Hockey League, and we played on a figure skating rink That wasn't even a proper hockey rink. It was converted. It was used by a local hockey club to teach kids how to play hockey. And most of the kids on the ice were either Canadians themselves or their parents were Canadian. Uh, and I also spent a year living in Portland, Oregon, played hockey there too. Um, and from the age of 12 on, I've been living in Canada. I've resided in Canada full time ever since. From the age of 12 forward, I spent about close to 10 years, almost 10 full years, growing up in the United States. So I have certain American sensibilities, although they're in the distant past. But I remember my time living in Oregon, living in New Jersey very well. I don't remember New York City, Staten Island, because I was too young. But it is distressing seeing for me the way a simple sport, hockey, and that's all it is. It's just a sport, it's a game, has been politicized. Donald Trump um, telephoned or was on speakerphone with the American players, telling them just have fun. The country's behind you, blah, 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 blah. And Justin Trudeau was apparently, I think he was given the opportunity to sit with Trump at the game, but opted not to. Whatever. Most Canadians have absolutely zero use for Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau will try and, attach himself to this victory as if it's a victory for him somehow. Justin Trudeau, in the eyes of the vast majority of Canadians, 80% of us anyway, is a total loser. When we're about to replace him with an even bigger loser, Mark Carney. If you want to know what people think of Mark Carney, ask people in Great Britain, where he was governor of their bank, their central bank, the Bank of England, and ask Brits what they think of what he did to their economy. And now he wants to come and do it to us, which brings us to the trade dispute going on between the United States and Canada. And I just want any Americans watching this to know, hey, if you want to build up, if you want to revive your steel and aluminum industries by placing 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum coming in from other countries like Canada, that's absolutely your right. And good on you. It's your country, your choice. And I am not thrilled with the manner in which my native country, Canada, is responding, whining as if we have some unalienable right to sell our steel and aluminum products into your market. It's not our market, it's the American market. I'm saying this as much to Canadians as I am to my American friends. I love my country, uh, but I'm not I don't blindly go along with whatever is being the narrative being scripted out on the nightly news and by our political class and by the media class. The media class in this country, they want all Canadians, they want us wrapping ourselves in the flag, they want us bleeding maple syrup, they want us hating on our American friends. Sorry, I refuse to do that. The same way that I refused during COVID to be, you know, cowed into taking a medical intervention that I did not want. And we all know how they did that. They programmed the Canadian population. It happened in the United States as well. They programmed everyone to just blindly go along and join the herd. I got the shot, following the stickers on the floor, wearing a useless diaper on your face, and people went along with it because in the broader media sphere, it was presented as the only narrative. Well, I want my American friends and my Canadian friends to know that I'm not playing along. I didn't play along with COVID. I'm not playing along with this. I didn't play along when I was told to put a Ukrainian flag on my social media profile pics. Sorry, don't really care. There's so much there are far bigger issues in this world right now than whether or not the United States wants to revive and build a strong steel and aluminum industry. If they want to improve those industries, I mean, it speaks to the fact that in Canada, we have no manufacturing base anymore to speak of, no textile industry. So many of our industry groups have been outsourced to other countries, either the United States or overseas. When this trade dispute first started percolating, Doug Ford, who is the premier of Canada's largest province, similar to a state, Doug Ford is what we call a premier, which is roughly the equivalent of a United States governor. He's like the governor of the state of Ontario, is the way it would be framed in American politics. We say he's the premier of Ontario. He did a press conference and he was sporting a hat that said, Canada not for sale. Now, the individuals who had come up with the idea to produce these hats tried very hard. They wanted them made in Canada. Canada not for sale. Well, you got to make that kind of hat in Canada, don't you? But the problem is we don't have a textile industry. We don't make things like hats and shirts and clothing. No, you had to go overseas for that because Canada, all embracing this, liberal free trade, which is ironic because when the free trade debate was happening in the 1980s, it was the liberal side of the aisle that was opposed to it. It was the liberal side that recognized that this is a race to the bottom, that this will result in jobs going overseas. This will result in high paying union scale jobs that provide for a decent standard of living and vacation and, quality of life. Well, we don't want those jobs in Canada. Send them down to Mexico, send them to Thailand or to China or to Bangladesh. We don't want them here anymore. And so we ceded our economic sovereignty by signing on to all these free trade agreements. I have a lot of respect for American President Donald Trump. I don't like everything he does. I don't think most don't. There are some who think that Donald Trump that he walks on water and perfect and can do no wrong. It's not my view. But I do remember his first term as president in 2016 when the outgoing Obama administration had negotiated something called the trying to remember, it had a name, but it was a trade deal with China and the Pacific, what are typically called the Pacific Rim countries. And Hillary Clinton, who ran against Donald Trump in that 2016 Olympics, called this trade deal the gold standard. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And Donald Trump came in, and one of his first acts as president in 2016 was to kibosh it. The Trans-Pacific Trade Deal, that's what it was called. The Trans-Pacific took me a while. The memory banks, I store things away, and then while I'm talking, my brain is working trying to find that file, and bang, Trans-Pacific Trade Deal. Trump canceled it. God bless you, President Trump, because that's just a race to the bottom. And now, in his second term, after a 4-year hiatus, and I actually think that 4-year hiatus for Donald Trump helped because he came in to the presidency having never held a political office before in his life. He was something about he was a real estate tycoon, a real estate developer. He learned that space very well, had some challenges early in his real estate development career. He had to declare bankruptcy a few times. Sharunian has shown up. Have to change name countless times because of doxers. I'm sorry about that. Sharunian's been watching my channel. He's been on here pretty much since I started this channel. And I don't even know how. I started doing videos. I only started doing videos. My first one was all the way back in December of 2020 when the COVID insanity was just beginning to really ramp up. I mean, it was bad for most of 2020, but then we all know what happened in December. Emergency use authorization in the United States, interim authorization, same meaning here in Canada. And then within months of that, We had people being forced to choose between working or taking a medical intervention that they perhaps did not want to take. Well, you have no choice. If you want to work, if you want to put food on the table, keep a roof over your head, clothes on your kids' back, well, then bend the knee, give in. I didn't. Rather than do that, I left the Army. I was in the Canadian Armed Forces. So, anyway, this was a hockey game. And Canada won. Congratulations, Canada. Connor McDavid. How do you say his name? Yeah, Connor McDavid. He scored the overtime goal. Um, I used to play hockey. I wasn't particularly good. I was a decent skater. Puck handling, not. I played defense, and because I was a decent skater, I was typically told, "You see that guy, Gordy? Hit him. Try and hit him. Try and hit him." And I played until I was 13 years of age. Then I fell more in love with basketball. Haven't laced up the skates for a hockey game. I was 28, 29 the last time I played an actual hockey game or anything resembling a game. Every now and again, every winter, I usually strap on the skates once or twice to go, you know, go public skating or whatever. But uh, I used to watch the NHL, used to watch the Leafs. They're my team. Although for a long time growing up, when I was in New Jersey, my team was the New York Rangers. My favorite player was Roger Bear, or as they called him in New York, Roger Bear. The gag line, Jean Rattel, Vic Hatfield, and Rod Bear, I think, was the line. Jean Rattel in the center, Hatfield and Rod Bear on the wings, Eddie Jockman in net. That was my team early on, but later, of course, support the home team, the Maple Leafs. Sharunian's writing, never let AI take over my station, my channel. I do not willingly interact with AI at all. But unfortunately, I think it's become embedded into so much of our world that I'm sure that I'm interacting with AI at times without knowing it. And I know I have clicked on videos where you get this very disembodied voice telling you about some interesting event in history. Did you know that in the year 2500 BC, the Egyptian, and you know it's AI, but I'm sure there are iterations of AI out there. One thing I've noted on my channel, I just coughed there. I've never come across AI coughing. So, but you know what? The way AI is growing, at some point, I'm sure they could do a deep fake of me if they wanted. Not that they would want to, but you never know. Sharunian's writing, Gordon is very natural and believes in the cycle of life. I'm a Christian. I believe in the fabric of reality, and the fabric of reality was created by our Maker. We use the word God, it's a very limiting term. I like what Moses heard when he was in the presence of God at the burning bush and he wanted a name, and God simply said, I am. I am that I am. You're not put God to my interpretation of that passage from the book of Exodus is that God was saying to Moses, you're not putting me in a box. You're not going to limit me by putting a name on me that will define my parameters, because my parameters have no limit. I am that I am, Yahweh, or however it would be pronounced. Um, anyway, so I'm Sharunian's the only one engaging. I've only got a few people watching. No one wants to talk about the game. I did not watch it. I haven't watched hockey for a while now. The COVID era kind of, woke me up to the fact, the degree to which humanity is programmed and the way we're directed and herded in one direction or another. And it wasn't just COVID, it was happening long before that. However, COVID made it so blatantly obvious that even even an idiot like me could see it. And retrospectively, I've looked back at other things, be it the Iran-Iraq war, be it the war in Afghanistan, be it even the Vietnam War, uh, and and countless other things as well. We are programmed what to think, what to believe, how to feel constantly. And right now, Canadians are being programmed to have animosity toward America and to fully embrace what is commonly referred to as Trump derangement syndrome, and to just boiling maple syrup when the name Donald J. Trump is spoken. And boy, I had a conversation today with someone at work who wanted to buy a particular product, but found out it was made in the USA. And he was, oh, I'm not. And I said, I told him, John, I said, frankly, I don't care. I know the gentleman. We've gone to church together. And well, but we've got to, Trump. And I'm like, you know what? That's the United States, John. If they want to bolster their steel and aluminum industry, God bless them. It's their choice. It's their country. What do we think we have a divine right to sell our products into the United States when we have a 70-cent dollar and an unfair, some might view that as an unfair competitive advantage because of our drastically lower dollar. So it gives us a competitive advantage, our steel versus American steel. Now with a 25% tariff on our products, it basically levels the playing field. Shrunion is writing, Passport Bros and Trader Jack should be illegal. I don't know what Passport Bros and Trader Jack. I don't know what Trader Jack's. Isn't that an American store? I don't care. I don't care. I want to be friend. I'm not going to hate on my American friends. I will hope that they won't hate on me, but I know some will, and they'll see it as reciprocal. Well, if you're going to boo my national anthem, I'm going to boo yours. And when you fight fire with fire, all you get is more fire. When you take an eye for an eye, everybody just goes blind. And Canadians and Americans were both better than that. And one area we can find unity, one area where we can find commonality, is in that we are both nations that were founded on Judeo Christian principles. I'm holding up a copy of my Bible, one of my Bibles. We're founded on the teachings that are contained within this amazing library of books. And we have that in common. And in terms of Canada being the 51st state, the way I tend to look at things is we already ceded our economic sovereignty all the way back in 1988 when we signed that free trade agreement. Now it's just a question of the political sovereignty. That, or we need to retake our economic sovereignty and stop whining, bitching, and complaining about the US trying to bolster its steel and aluminum industries and whatever other industry they decide they want to bolster. But what is obviously going to happen, it's being all sides of the aisle in Canada, right, left, middle, in between, everyone is saying that we need to hit back at the United States with tariffs that will impact them. So goods that are imported heavily into Canada from the United States, the Canadian government is signaling that they're going to impose tariffs on them to hurt the American economy. And then what is going to happen is the United States is going to hit tariffs on products that Canadians import from the United States. If you look at our agricultural sector, obviously Canada, we don't grow oranges very well in this climate. I'm sure some are grown in greenhouses or whatever, but oranges and other, produce, a lot of produce comes from warmer locales like California, like Florida. We import. We need that. But what's going to happen is you're going to see tariffs going back and forth, back and forth. And a house divided cannot stand. The world is facing an inflection point. It'd be nice if we could pull together over hockey and congratulate each other on an amazing game, an amazing tournament. Canada and the US both made it to the final. It took overtime to decide it. And in overtime, the Americans, I saw there was one amazing chance. I think it was Austin Matthews, who plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He came very close to scoring a goal that would have ended the game, but then Mitch Marner gave a pass over to Connor McDavid, and that ended the game. As a crazy bounce, anything can happen in overtime. It was anyone's game. Glad that they didn't end it in a shootout, though. That would stink. Anyway, I'll end my video there. If you liked it, if you want to hear more of what this crazy Canuck who had 10 years growing up in the United States, who was in the Army until 2021, June of 2021, and what other thoughts I might have on news, on current events, on politics. I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now. We just had a situation in Israel where they're reporting that buses blew up. Buses were targeted and blew up, but the suspicion is that things did not go off as planned, that the bombs were intended probably to go off during the morning rush hour, but instead they went off at night. So you have that situation. You have the situation in Ukraine where President Donald Trump is very much taking the side of the Russians and is blaming Ukraine for starting the war. And some heads are exploding all over the place, and they're calling that misinformation, disinformation. They're saying that Trump is lying, and it's just another way of looking at it. When Ukraine made overtures to NATO and said, we want to join, and NATO said, yeah, no problem, we'll fast track your membership in this military alliance, which is opposed to Russia and their influence. And Russia saw that as a red line. Russia saw Ukraine joining the NATO alliance, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They saw that as a red line. And so when Ukraine didn't back down and signaled that it would, in fact, be joining NATO, that's when the Russians invaded. If you cross a red line, that's sometimes viewed as the Latin term is casus belli. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, but in English, it means a cause for war. It's a declaration of war. And, if you join with NATO, if you it, who started the war? The militarily, the armament side of it, that was started by Russia. And they view it as justified because Ukraine had crossed a red line. Now President Trump has come in and said, and Hegsteth, I think is the name of the Secretary of Defense, I may not be pronouncing that 100% right, has said that Ukraine joining NATO is now completely off the table. And then what about territorial? Well, learn your history. Crimea, back when it was the Russian Empire, Tsarist Russia before the Bolshevik Revolution, Tsarist Russia, Crimea was part of Russia. It was their holding. And it was under the Soviets that the Russians said, okay, we're going to give Crimea to Ukraine to administer. And a large chunk of the population in Crimea is ethnic Russian. I happen to know both Russians and Ukrainians. And the accounts I've had from both sides is it doesn't matter to them whether it's the Russians or the Ukrainians running Crimea. Either way, it's just a matter of which corrupt power structure. Is it the corrupt Ukrainian power structure running things, or is it the corrupt Russian power structure running things? Either way, I've been told, the lights are going to dim at the lights are going to go out. The electricity is going to be cut off 2 or 3 times a day because no one can manage anything over there. And then you look at this region like the Donbass region, contentious region that Russia has seized. From everything I've read, the majority population in that region is ethnic Russian. They're not ethnic Ukrainian. And how do Ukrainians feel about outsiders? Do some reading. Ukraine, the Asimov regiment, they have a regiment within the Ukrainian military that venerates Adolf Hitler. Canada, we had a deputy prime minister by the name of Chrystia Freeland, who her grandfather actually collaborated with the Nazis. Our Canadian Parliament, they brought in a man into the gallery who had fought alongside the Nazis, and he got a standing ovation in Canada's Parliament. All little inconvenient facts that Canadians would rather forget. I try not to forget. That's one of the things we say on November 11th, which in Canada is celebrated as Remembrance Day, and that is lest we forget. So in order that we do not forget. Lest is kind of a antiquated term. Anyway, thank you for watching. I've rambled on a bit. If you liked my ramblings, I very much like interaction. So if you want to show up for another live, hit the like and the subscribe button. Join me. Sometimes I do them on a platform called StreamYard through YouTube that allows me to interact. I can actually invite people onto the live stream and we can, have it podcast style talking back and forth. I've done that once. I'm an old dinosaur, 58 years old, so I'm not the most technologically adept person in the world, but I'm learning as I go, doing my best to try and grow the channel because I think voices like my own, call me egotistical, call me narcissist, whatever. But I think voices like mine are needed. And unfortunately, I'm a poster child for cancel culture because I'm white, male, old, Christian, straight, and I tick all the boxes. But anyway, thank you for watching. And I hope to see you back. And oh yeah, last thing, the comment field is down below. Tell me what you think. And criticism is 100% absolutely allowed. I don't censor anything because I believe in free speech. Even if you're derogatory, it's all right. But constructive criticism is genuinely appreciated. If there's things you think I can do better, just don't ask me to go out and spend $100 on a mic or, I'm not interested in improving production value. The only thing I'm interested in improving is content. Talk to you soon. God bless all. Night.